The other big story we're tracking here on India Today, the panic in Dubai, the panic in Abu Dhabi, the panic in West Asia after multiple airports were shut down, airspace was shut down. We'll just show you images of people stuck at the airport, not knowing what to do, not knowing when airspace will open, not knowing what next. Will there be more missile strikes on Abu Dhabi, for example, on Dubai, for example? Just look at those images. Absolutely nobody has any idea what to do next. Will there be further escalation in this conflict? And I want to quickly bring in my colleague Sandeep Unithan for more on this. Sandeep, you've been speaking to authorities. Statements have been put out by airlines. And it seems, Sandeep, even airlines don't know what to do.
Absolutely, Gaurav. You know, there is no way airlines would fly when there are, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles crisscrossing the skies, fighter jets flying around the place. There's absolute chaos right now in West Asia, Gaurav. There's a war, a full-scale war that's on. Israel, United States, Iran, the bombs, missiles flying around. And the first thing that was done was to shut down all of the airspace over there. There are no flights flying in UAE. UAE's has one of the busiest airports, in the world, Gaurav. And, we're getting a lot of messages from Indians who are stuck over there. There are something like 4 million Indians. They're the largest workforce in the UAE, the largest expatriate group in the UAE. They have friends here in India, family here. They're deeply concerned. We're hearing of, I'm on a lot of my WhatsApp groups here. We are talking to people there in the UAE, telling them what to do in case buildings are hit, how to stay safe. This is a crisis that UAE has not seen in several decades, Gaurav, possibly since 2003 or even earlier during the 1991 Gulf War. So that whole region right now, Gaurav, is in a tinder box. It's a very, very crucial part of the world. UAE, for the benefit of the viewers, is just across the Straits of Hormuz. It's just south of Iran, and that's one of the areas that Iran has struck. They were possibly targeting the US bases over there, but it's the entire of UAE that's in the line of fire.
Because we'll just show you images also when this region is targeted, when missiles fall in the region, the plumes of smoke and fire that you see, it leads to panic because these are areas, Ambassador Sajjanhar, I have Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar joining me on this broadcast. I have Tara Karta, former director of the National Security Council Secretariat, joining us. These are signals that will send massive, massive panic across the region, Ambassador Sajjanhar.
Right, Gaurav. Of course, there'll be huge panic because, it's not only the Indians. Indians are there in West Asia. We have about 9 million of them. So, in terms of, and they are spread out all over. As Sandeep, I think very correctly said, more than 4 million in the United Arab Emirates. Next only, the United States has more than that, but it's the second largest Indian diaspora population anywhere in the world. And after that, it comes about 3 million in Saudi Arabia. And then, in all the other countries, Qatar and Oman, etc. So, of course, they'll all be worried. This is, a threat that Iran had given, that if the United States strikes, then they will be ready to hit back at the US assets in all these countries. And they have been ready for that. While the negotiations have been going on in parallel in Muscat, Oman, in Geneva, etc., they've been ready for it because they thought that the negotiations were moving on well, but they knew that the United States had deceived them last time. They were saying that, 10, 15 days, we can continue with the negotiations. But then the attacks in June last year came even as this period of 10, 15 days had been given. So I think they were quite clear, and they have now stocked on the missiles, because this period they have used to get equipment, ammunition, armament from Russia, also from China. So you see the speed with which they have acted within a few hours. Last time it was much longer that they took to attack. So I think definitely there is huge disquiet. The last point here, it is not only
So what can people do in
shipping.
such a situation? Because nobody knows when airspace will open again, when will flights take off again. What should people do in such a situation? Tara Karta, in your appreciation, do you see this escalate even further? Considering these are countries that have the best air defense system and yet missiles came in and struck various locations. Do you think this war is all set to escalate now?
Let's see what the Houthis do. If they're going to get longer range missiles, they're going to be a lot of trouble on that Straits of Hormuz, especially since we are completely dependent on that oil. US, China,
Yes.
not so much. They've stepped up their own strategic reserves like mad. They've got a bunch of stuff back at home. We are the people who will suffer. So this is not finished. It doesn't look like, I mean, to be honest, Gaurav, I
Man, you
cannot.
just mentioned the Strait of Hormuz. There's breaking news that's coming in, and that's a big and a very worrisome story. Representative of the Supreme Leader of Iran has indicated that the Strait of Hormuz could be shut down. Iran, this is a Reuters report. Reuters report says that the Strait of Hormuz could be shut down, and this is the US-Israel versus Iran war. This will have massive strategic impact. World's most strategic location to be shut down, Dr. Tara Kartha. This would be catastrophic for Saudi Arabia, for countries in the region and for India.
This is the worst thing that could happen to us. It's something, but then all of us, if you game it, I'm pretty sure like Ambassador said, we knew Iran will attack US bases. We know the Hormuz Strait could be closed. They might even sink a ship there, and then we are done for. And the saddest part is the major players have all stocked up on oil, so they're not affected. Even if it's so, to your question, I don't think this is going to end very easily. I mean, you cannot, as we have seen in Bangladesh, by the way, regime change is messy. Even if it is planned down to the last detail, it is still messy. It never plays out the way you want it to.
So let me bring in David Daud into this conversation. Sandeep, stay with me. David Daud, as a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense and Defense of Democracies, your reading of the threat that comes in. Reuters is quoting sources saying Iran will shut down the Strait of Hormuz if there is escalation.
Well, thank you for having me on. Look, I mean, Iran has direct capabilities which it can employ. We should not assume, as your guest said, that war against Iran or potentially regime change, we still don't know what the plan is behind this opening American-Israeli strike is. These are not simple things. Iran also has indirect capabilities that I think it's holding in reserve right now. If we look at Hezbollah in Lebanon, for example, they've been relatively mum based on previous statements from their leadership. However, be it Naim Qassem, when he had a speech on January 26th, or more recently, there was a statement by a Hezbollah source to AFP. They don't intend to get involved yet until they feel that the regime is threatened. And I think this is where the regime is trying to go. I don't see a major escalation by the regime just yet. What I see, if we look at the statements from Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, they realize they can't win this war, especially if it's a joint American-Israeli endeavor. They want this to be as limited as possible in time and in impact. And I think they will await escalation if the Israeli and American side escalates. But until then, what they're focused on is survival. What they're focused on is ending this as quickly as possible and ensuring that as much of the regime's leadership and assets remain intact throughout this conflict.